Hey, check out what we did this week. I got the trunk lid back on the car. I put weather stripping all the way around. That's what we covered in this episode. I even break out an airbrush to do some small touch-up paint on some little small parts. So if you're interested in seeing how I got this done this week, stay tuned. All right, welcome back to another episode of Restoring Christine. Bill here, Christine R56 Bel Air, she's behind me. I've got a project I'm going to do this week. I'm going to put the trunk lid on. So to do that, I need to finish painting my trunk lid bolts. I need to adhere the weather strip and then mount the latch and just get it set in place. Should be quick, straightforward and simple, but I got some really neat tricks this week that's going to involve an airbrush. That'll be neat. And then I'm going to hopefully be able to corral all the tricks that I've gathered from watching a ton of YouTube videos on installing weatherstrip, plus finding the instructions on how to do so. And hopefully we can get it right the very first time, and maybe I can help explain problems away. So maybe we can do it right the first time, and that way if you do it, maybe this is it. So let's get into it. All right, there's Christine's trunk lid. I painted that back a couple months. It's been maybe 4 months now, 3 months. Back episode 107 fast and 107 slow, you can see how I painted Christine in her entirety, but we painted it in pieces parts, and the trunk lid was painted with 1956-57 India ivory. So I've got it mounted right now, just temporarily sitting on a Harbor Freight kickstand support, and I have ready to go. I've got a brand new original equipment reproduction weather stripping, and let's see if I can find the end of it. There's the end of it. So it's shaped like that. There you go. So it's shaped like that, and I have a tube of 3M weather stripping adhesive in black, and that's 3M part number 08011, and this weather strip is TF 300151, and that may be the part number on Classic Industries website. But I bought that as part of a kit. I got the weather stripping for the door, the trunk lid, the front windshield, back windshield. I got all that in. So here's the trunk lid. It's all ready to go. And then I have on a table, this is something new. This is something different. So I forgot. There's so many little small pieces, and you got like these 4 screws, 4 bolts that go and hold the trunk lid. So the trunk lid has built in the little slide plate that gives you the adjustment, but it's tapped 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have 4 bolts that go in it with a very large compression washer. And these are 5/16 fine thread, so it's 24 threads per inch. So it'd be 5/16-24 if you're looking for the bolts. I already passed a die over these, and I put a tap through the 4 holes to make sure that all the threads are good. But what I'm going to be doing now is I mixed up a little bit of paint. This is Axalta Rival. It is the Legacy Imron product, and then I have an Iwata airbrush that I picked up because I thought it would work for what we need to do. And I've done a little bit of testing with this already before I fired up the video camera, and it works. So right now, that's what I'm going to be using, is this Iwata Neo. This airbrush was about $100. You can get an inexpensive knockoff from Harbor Freight for $30. But I decided to invest in something this is a precision instrument. So I figured, it's another toy in a toy box. I'll be able to play with that for a little bit. I've got instructions on the weather strip, but there's my bolts, and let's go ahead and get those painted. So I've been amazed at how this airbrush has been throwing down this material. This material, I thinned it I mixed this up in the 4-to-1 ratio that it is. 4 parts paint, 1 part hardener. And then I put about 2 parts of lacquer thinner, some reducer in it, to thin it, because this is a very, very fine point. This is a 0.5 where you normally shoot with a 1.3 to 1.5. So this is very tiny, but I was surprised that this airbrush shoots this material as well as it does. So the way these airbrushes work is this dual action airbrush. You press down and that starts the flow. And right now, you can hear it. I have it at about 20 psi, maybe a little bit less, because I wanted to. I want to throw this down kind of thick. So I want to be able to spray it slowly. I don't want it to just fly out and then just race around. I want to be able to take my time. So when you push down, that starts the airflow, and when you pull back on the trigger, that moves the needle back to start the paint. So we're going to go ahead and start spraying these. I was really surprised. Do not dump that, please. I was really surprised at how well it does. This has got a lot of possibilities for touch-up. I mean, if I was spraying this with a rattle can, I've just got an infinite amount of control here. And I am spraying a tiny bit of paint because there's just a little bit of paint in this cup. And this is just one coat. It's heavily thinned. So I'm going to step back and set this in the sun, and we'll come back with another coat in a minute. But look how nice that comes out. What I noticed was, I had some edges over here that were kind of goobered up. I didn't sand them very well. And I had a little bit of just remnant, like the body filler just kind of had little edges right here. So I took the sandpaper and I sanded this down, and I just used that airbrush and it looks terrific. So it's got a little bit of maybe dusting here where the weather stripping is going to go, but I mean, as far as touch up, that was beautiful. So I got the weather strip on the trunk lid just laid out, and you can see the length. And it has enough length to come around and wrap around and give me at least an extra foot and a half or so. That's plenty. So I already cut off a piece like this so I can do a little bit of a demonstration. But they say in the instructions, they say that the factory original splice point was off somewhere to the right or the left by about 12 to 18 inches. So it was anywhere in this region, and there's nothing magical about putting it there. And maybe they wanted to get it away from this point in case it got damaged. But I mean, to me, damage is damage, so I'm going to put it there because I'm a symmetric person. I just want things balanced. So I cut off a piece, and when you look at the instructions, and this is not official factory instructions, it's not manufacturer instructions, this is some sort of a Tri-5 club. So I don't recognize that logo, but I got it online, and we're going to trust it as gospel. So let's see. This is what they're showing. They're showing that there's a correct way and an incorrect way. If this is the trunk lid and the lip, and then the tail panel coming up, and that's where the trunk opening is, they're showing you take the little curvature part. It mates against the trunk lid, and if I can get the shadows to look right, there we go. So like this, and that's the way they want it in the corner. And you can do it the opposite, and that's wrong, incorrect. So not this way, but this way. So let's go take a quick look at the trunk area of Christine and see how that would align. All right, so if I'm pretending this is on the trunk, and again I've got this, the bigger nape here open, it's going to close against this like this. So it makes sense. It makes sense. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to mount it like that, and let's get started. So I'm using probably what's the most common brand out there, 3M black weather strip adhesive, part number 08011, and this is 5 fluid ounces. This ought to be plenty. I think they sell a 2-ounce tube that you may be able to get by with from AutoZone. This has got a little squeeze tube top on it. It's got a little nozzle. So that little nozzle right there, and I think that's going to help us lay down a bead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do a test piece, and I'm going to show you how this weather stripping and this adhesive is supposed to adhere. All right, so this is a piece of metal that has some of the paint on it. So it's the same surface, more or less, is what I'm going to be attaching to. And I've got this little piece, and I just want to attach this in that nape just like that. So one of the things is this weather adhesive, and I'm going to use it with the glove. I'm going to do it with my fingers just because I'm working with something so small here, and I just want to make an example. But one of the things is you are supposed to apply this like a contact cement. So it goes on one surface and then the other surface. And I'm not really being careful about how tightly I'm placing this on this test piece, but I think you're getting the point of what I'm trying to do. So now you're supposed to let these two dry up a little bit and then come back and tack them together. And when they tack, the adhesion of that is a lot better, or is appropriate. And if you did it, if you just glued it and then set it down and let it dry, it's not going to work. Just like contact cement doesn't work that way. This weather stripping adhesive is the same way. Okay, it's tacked up pretty much like we need it to be. You know, it's dry to the touch. So we're just going to set this down. And again, I don't care about the orientation, but once you set this, it's locked. And that is adhered. That's it. You can see, I'm going to try to pull it apart. It is on there. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to lay down a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and do the rest of it maybe on time lapse, and we'll see how that works out. And so now I've got my adhesive. I'm going to put a little bit in the nape of the trunk right here. Nice little tidy little bead. They tell you don't need to do the entirety of it. So before I smear my fingers, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of a bead on here. You see, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny bead. It's not very big. So I'm going to make sure I get it on my weather stripping. Came too close. I wasn't in the center. It should have been in the center. We don't want that to smear out. We're going to go with that. All right, it's been a couple of minutes. Let's go ahead and put that in. Get that right in the nape. Yep, just like that. A little bit right there. I'll be able to wipe that off. But that's the point. So we just need to try to make sure that we keep laying this down straight. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up on time lapse, and let's get this done. Well, I started to do hyperlapse and I forgot. I've got to let this dry in between. So I basically have to do a strip, wet it, and set it down. I mean, let it dry and then do it. So it's the hyperlapse isn't going to work. So let me just go ahead and get this done, and I'll catch back up with you after I'm all the way around it. All right, so I've made it all the way around. I've done this side all the way to here. I've done this side all the way to this corner. So it's the only part I've got left is here in my splice. So, you know, after you do this for a little bit, man, it's like you start getting brave and, you know, doing it a lot quicker. And this was like I was really just being a little too tender with it before. It's like, don't be afraid, you know. I mean, you don't want to make a mistake, but even if I got this material in a place where it didn't belong, and it wiped up pretty easily. You know, I just used, I have some prep solvent. It's called Final Clean, and it's a mixture of lacquer thinner and mineral spirits, and it's what you use to de-wax or degreaser. But that cleans this up when it's wet, and I'm pretty sure that when it's dry, pretty sure it cleans up with acetone. So right now I'm just making sure I get a good flat, even coat. You don't want it to be thick and globbed, because the glob doesn't dry. The glob dries on the surface, and then the underside stays wet, and that won't stick. So I'm planning on going almost all the way to the edge with this thing to here, and then I'll take a scissor and cut it. Let me go ahead and smear this bead out. And the corner was rough. The corner over on the other side was rough, so I'm braced for that, braced for impact. But I'm gonna smear this in And I'm not afraid of it being, you know, making a mess. You know, like I can clean it up as long as I'm not like crazy with it. But it's not like, this is not a job that you need to mask off, you know. I don't know, if you were putting a show car together, maybe. But let me go ahead and now that's all I need to do. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let that dry. So it's been taking about 10 minutes in today's heat, you know, maybe 15. But I'll let this completely dry and I'll come back and tack it and touch it with while it's tacky, and it adheres really well. So let's just come back to it in a minute. All right, it's dry to the touch. Dry to the touch on both the weather stripping and the trunk lid. I'm just gonna lay it down. This corner is the trickiest. That's it. And they tell you don't stretch it. That's another thing too. Don't stretch it. So if you stretch it, it might want to spring back if it shrinks. But that's it, you know. It's coming out beautiful. I mean, it makes the trunk lids look so finished. So now everything here, this one is dried and wet and glued on both sides. This one's dried and glued on both sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut, tack that down. And this, I just need to work it. All right, I got that cut. And go ahead and I need to get this one cut to length. And then I need to dab some weather stripping adhesive on it and then let them come together. Okay, it's been sitting for about 10 minutes and it's dry to the touch, both sides. So I'm gonna try to bring this together and get these to mate. And that's it. Make sure it's good and pressed together. Well, it's acting as one. Look at that. Yes, it works. Beautiful. Let me step back and show you. So here it is. One step closer. Now we need to get it on a car. So got a little bit of gunk to clean up right here, but I'll get it. All right, so for those who don't know, this trunk lid, that's a brand new panel on that bottom right there. I'll put a link to the video when I did that, when I repaired this, but that's a whole new bottom. This was all rotted out. And then I also had to replace the bottom 6 inches of this surface here. So that's all a new piece. So those two are actually, they were done in the same video. And I'll put a link to it, like I said. So you can, maybe if you're interested in seeing that repair, it might help you out. But now what I need to do is I need to get some help to go put it on a car, and then we can start mounting it. Well, I got it. I did it all by myself. I didn't have any help. I put a moving blanket on the back area, and then I lifted the trunk lid over it, and then used my head as a prop and got it, and then just looked like a fool doing it. Looked like a monkey, but I got it done. But it was not without some tragedy. As I was getting it lined up, I went ahead and as I was trying to slam it shut one time, it went ahead and bumped, and it overcorrected or it overconnected, and it chipped the paint. So I'm gonna have to end up patching that. But let's take a look at it. You know, weather stripping looks really good. You know, look, I didn't mask anything, and look how clean that looks. Very clean. There's a chip. Looks really good. I've got the cover comes on here, but I don't have that yet. I need to paint my screws. But it looks really good. Really, really good. Let me go ahead and close it. You know, here's at the latch now. I'm being very careful, and instead of slamming it, I'm putting my body weight on it. But there you go. It's on there. Yeah, you can see that chip. Hate it, hate it, hate it. I had a hard time getting this to line up when I was doing the body work. And it's rising up even worse now with the weather stripping, but I'm gonna try to put some weight on it or something and see if I can't get that to settle down. But there you go. Starting to look like a car again. I like it. Go around this side. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. But that's going to do it. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate those of you that watch my channel. If you're enjoying the episodes, please give me a thumbs up, and if you're enjoying the channel, I'd appreciate a subscription. So I'm going to be mounting the doors before long, and then we're putting the glass in. Next thing you know, we'll be doing wiring and interior, and then it'll be on to the powertrain. But we got lots of good content coming up. So until I see you next time, take care of yourself. Cheers.